Thank you, Mr. President. I know that you are probably like me, and you've been grateful for the time to be home and to see family and friends and just to chat with them about what is going on in their lives and the issues that are important to them, what they are looking at. And it has been so interesting to get their perspective as we have visited. I flipped through the papers yesterday and I realized that many of our friends around town have this renewed sense of optimism about President Biden's ability to lead the country. I found that really quite interesting. But you could look at it and say it may be a new year, but it's the same old Biden. It goes without saying that I do not share what I see as a misguided view. I entered this year with the same healthy skepticism that I had back in December as we were finishing that legislative year. I will say this, that for the past year, the Democratic majority has indulged an administration that has treated their electoral victory like a mandate to enact some of the most irresponsible and radical policies we've seen in over a generation. Now they're dusting off an agenda that is so unhinged, it has kept the Democrats deadlocked against one another for the year. We have seen this agenda breed mistrust, tension, anger between the American people and their government. Few, if any, of those people could state that they are better off now than they were under President Trump and Republican leadership, but still, the Democratic majority has continued to push Biden's agenda on behalf of the most radical portions of their base. Yes, leaning left, they are leaning far left. They are listening to the social justice warriors and the climate partisans and the big government activists. And the Democratic leadership is doing exactly what they're telling them they want done. Meanwhile, they're ignoring the people back home who actually have to deal with the consequences of this political tunnel vision. Time after time, in poll after poll, even more polls that have come out today, the American people have made it abundantly clear that they are not just dissatisfied with the president's failure to lead, with his radical agenda. And you know what? They're not just angry. What I learned from Tennesseans is that people are really frightened by what they see taking place with this far left, hard left turn. President Biden has to know all of this. The Democratic leadership has to know all of this. Look at all the polls. Doesn't matter if it's NPR, doesn't matter if it's AP, doesn't matter if it is CNN. The agenda, the president, the vice president, they are all underwater. I think they've probably seen this coming since day one of this disastrous administration. And it takes some of the specific issues. The Democratic leadership has had a front row seat to what is happening on the southern border. So has the administration. That has been a complete collapse of our nation's sovereignty at the southern border. With the stroke of a pen, President Biden dismantled the policies that were keeping us safe. He invited waves of illegal immigrants into the country. Yes, said, y'all come, we're ready for you. He threw the Border Patrol and local law enforcement under the bus, did not listen to them. You don't have to take my word for it. Go to the southern border. Go visit with them. And He's let the cartels step into the leadership void at that southern border. The drug dealers and the human traffickers are in control of the southern border at this point in time. You do not cross that border unless you have paid the cartels. But you know what? Admitting this does not fit the agenda of the Democratic leadership. So they just ignore it. Now, President Biden and my Democratic colleagues continue to evade responsibility for keeping the border secure and safeguarding the national security. They don't want to talk about that, and they're also not wanting to talk about the threat posed by the Chinese Communist Party and our other adversaries abroad, and that is right. The Chinese Communist Party is an adversary. They are not a competitor. They are not a friend or a frenemy. They are an adversary. What are they doing? They're conducting surveillance, academic espionage, intellectual property theft. They're doing this every single day. It's all part of the standing operating procedures of the new axis of evil, and all being ignored by people that are charged with running this country, keeping this country safe. Tennesseans will tell you they're very concerned. The American people are very concerned. The polls are showing it, and they are blaming the Biden administration for not feeling safe, not feeling secure, for the supply chain crisis, for inflation. This is all things that have been brought about in the past year by decisions this administration has made, executive orders that they have executed. Every time that people in this country pick up their phone, they're faced with the knowledge that many of the programs and social media platforms that they once enjoyed are controlled by people who refuse to prioritize privacy and data security and realize that these cyber protections are important. They're grateful for all the sunlight that you and I, Mr. President, have been able to shine on the problems with big tech. And so many times as I was at home, people would mention to me how much they had learned through the hearings that we have held, the roundtable discussions, and they are wanting to see more attention brought to keeping us safe and limiting the surveillance, the property theft, the academic espionage that the Chinese Communist Party and our adversaries are conducting in the virtual space. And they're looking forward to seeing us translate this bipartisan consensus into action. They're looking forward to what we're going to deliver when it comes to online privacy, data security, Section 230 reforms, to protect our innovators, to protect our children online, to protect our consumers. And Mr. President, when people look at what is being done, like the work we've done on technology policy, and what is not being done when it comes to addressing China, addressing Russia, dealing with Iran, when it comes to dealing with inflation, prices at the pump, and prices that are happening at the grocery store, they look at this and they say, where's the president? Where's the vice president? Where are people that should be working for the American people in Congress? And when we talk about the Democratic leadership, we know that they're busy catering to the most radical fringe of the Democratic Party to do their jobs. And they're too busy with that to govern, or to keep the economy in one piece, and to keep the border intact, or to provide for the common defense, or to exercise a little oversight over some of the world's most powerful corporations. Well, the American people deserve better. Tennesseans are wanting to see action. So while some of our colleagues across the aisle have a renewed sense of optimism about President Biden's ability to pull them out of this skid on this agenda that is going nowhere, the American people have spoken. They do not want what you're offering. My resolve is going to be to stand here, to stand between what is happening, this destructive, as I call it, the Build Back Broke agenda, and to protect Tennesseans and future generations of Americans from such an adverse and negative impact. I yield the floor.